Father Paul, Deacon Steve, brothers and sisters, it is with great joy that I stand here with you today as a very freshly ordained deacon. I think it's not quite 24 hours. To be here in my home parish, the parish that has nourished my spiritual journey for 16 years, to share with you my very first homily is a moment of great significance, and I am so grateful to all of you. I would like to share a small story of how God works in amazing ways. One mundane day in a dental office many years ago, one of our parishioners, Denise Lawler, was talking to a patient by the name of Larry Holland, who had come to see Dr. Deacon Lawler. Larry Holland was an air traffic controller and disillusioned with his job and his life. Denise gave him the number of the vocations director for the Archdiocese, Father Craig Scott, and encouraged Larry to call. A small act, but a highly momentous one. Air traffic controller Larry went on to become Father Larry Holland. Father Larry Holland happened to be the priest who helped my wife Eva during a difficult time in high school, and she turned to him when presented with another thorny problem, that of marrying me, as I was a non-Catholic at the time, among my other thorny problems. But Father Holland's gentle guidance in our marriage and our marriage preparation time was one of the first critical steps to me eventually joining the Catholic Church. And here I stand today. As my wife says, I wanted you to be Catholic, but not this Catholic. So I would like to encourage you all today that even the small acts of love reverberate into the universe with massive and beautiful consequences. God will never fail to use our acts of love in the amazing economy of salvation. Today we celebrate the solemnity of the body and blood of Christ, the foundation of our salvation. In my own faith journey, the real presence of Christ in Holy Communion was a difficult sticking point. As the evangelical faith tradition I was raised in, communion was only considered as a remembrance. Why is the body and blood of Christ in the Eucharist so important? Here, the concept of sacrifice comes to the forefront. There is no life without sacrifice. If we look around you, you can see all the mothers in church, and you can imagine your own mothers. Look at these amazing women, and consider your own amazing mother. We are all given life by the blood of our mothers. This sacrifice has a cost. My own wife still takes iron to replenish the blood that she gives and has given to bring life to our 4 children. Hi, kids. The sacrifice, however, makes sense because of the life that it brings. In the same way, the sacrifice of Christ becomes life-giving. The cross, that to the world looks senseless and foolish, when you look at it with the eyes of the world, becomes God sacrificing himself in blood and in pain, but bringing forth healing and redemption. In surgery, we do everything we can to increase the blood supply to a wound, because with the blood comes the healing. Oh, Monsignor prepared me for this by gifting me a handkerchief, which I will pull out now. If I can find it. I'm not used to these robes. So as our mothers have given us physical life by the sacrifice of their bodies and blood, Christ gives us spiritual life in the sacrifice of the Eucharist. Yet, this spiritual life has a physical expression, a physical aspect. And this is the wonderful mystery of the Eucharist. One thing I love so much about being a Catholic Christian is the physicality of the worship. It is one thing to think about God's grace and how we need it. But we need to not just intellectually and mentally have a need for it. We must actually feel this grace. In healthcare, we talk about palpation, touch the patient. Christ comes to us in the Eucharist as a palpable grace. Grace that touches us, that we can feel, that is real to us. So today, I want you to think back over the last week or month and take a moment to consider, what is my own deepest need right now? I know you, and I know each of you has a struggle in your heart. I have struggles in my heart. You may be a child that is carrying the hurt of nasty words said to you, the loss of a friendship. You may be a teenager with all the turmoil of the world, feeling like it's on your own shoulders. Anxious about yourself, someone has body shamed you, and yet you are the unique and glorious creation of God. You may be a young adult, torn between how the world calls you with its sweet-looking fruit, in contrast to the discipline of the faith you were raised in. You have fear, you have worry, you have tension. Maybe you are struggling in your vocation of marriage. You don't feel like you're on the same wavelength as your spouse. There is anger, there is separation. Perhaps you're in the middle of a major loss. You've lost a child. You've lost a job. You've lost a parent. God knows you. And He sees your heart. And He sees your deepest need right now. So as you come to the altar to receive the presence of Christ and the blessing of Christ, bring your deepest need to the throne of grace. As you are walking up the aisle, think of your deepest need today and give it up to Christ. We can't do it on our own. We can't carry these burdens. So bring your burden, receive this palpable grace from the Lord, and you can truly and deeply experience and feel the healing power of Christ's sacrifice for us. Amen.